Testing, testing, testing. Not, I see. Testing, 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 testing. How's my volume now? I see. Is that better? Good morning, everyone. A little higher. Good morning. Testing, 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 testing. How's my volume now? I see. Is that better? Good morning, everyone. A little higher. Good morning. Testing, testing. Hi, Matt. He's doing a fantastic job. We just threw him right in. No training, nothing. There you go. So thank you, JJ. Hi, Matt. He's doing a fantastic job. We just threw him right in. No training, nothing. There you go. So thank you, JJ. Okay, I think we need to call. Hi, Matt. He's doing a fantastic job. We just threw him right in. No training, nothing. There you go. So thank you, JJ. Okay, I think we need to call. Hi, Matt. He's doing a fantastic job. We just Poor Paul, he doesn't have a day off. Okay. Please stand by, everyone. Why don't we just sit in meditation while we're waiting for the audio to work? Can everyone on Zoom hear? Okay. Yes, Laura? Okay, great. Please stand by, everyone. Why don't we just sit in meditation while we're waiting for the audio to work? Can everyone on Zoom hear? Okay. Yes, Laura? Okay. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. 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 All right, let's try this again. All right, let's try this again.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. I think that was it. Testing, testing. Yeah, I think that was it.
Well, that was a good way to test me. Thank you. How often is it that when we're getting ready to do something or start something and things fall apart or they don't work or turn the volume up a little bit? Okay. JJ, is there a way to turn it up on your side or do I press it here? Okay. How is it now? Is that better, Candle? Yes, a little bit? Okay. Okay. You're going to turn it up in there. Okay. Thank you, Jim. And I can also sit in my karaoke posture as if I'm getting ready to sing. That's my cue. Robert always says, you want to be a Dharma teacher, Trina, the one thing that, you really need to work on is your volume. So I had to, instead of being in my meditative posture, I'll sit in my karaoke singing posture. Thank you, everyone, for just hanging around and being so patient with our technology this morning. First, I just want to welcome you all to our beloved Sangha. How many of you here are here for the first time? Okay, great. Welcome. And why don't we just take a moment to acknowledge each other's presence in the room, and if you could just turn to your neighbors and just say hello and maybe even ask what brings you here. And for those of you on Zoom, just take a moment to browse the screen and see who else is on. There's Holly, Stephanie, Kimberly's on, Robert's on, Jai. Great. Thank you, everyone. So many windows open. Closing out all the windows here. Why don't we just sit for a moment and acknowledge the experience that has been here and that is currently present with us. So please take a moment to find a comfortable seated upright posture. Sitting in such a way that the body is at ease, The spine is straight, yet not uptight. Just imagine like dishes neatly stacked, one on top of the other. And let us come back home to the in-breathing and the out-breathing. As you breathe in, feel the energy wind coursing through the body. Feel the belly and the chest filling up with air. And as you breathe out, feel the belly and the chest emptying. And become aware of the body as it's sitting here in this room with our beloved Sangha. Feeling the sitting bones pressing against the cushion or the chair. You might notice element of heat in the hands, in the legs. You might notice the subtle movement of the shoulders and the chest and the belly with every breath, expanding, expanding, contracting, contracting. And there's no right or wrong way to breathe. Breathe in such a way that brings more relaxation into the body and the mind. So notice if it's helpful and beneficial to breathe in short and breathe out long, or to breathe in long and breathe out short. In the first 10 minutes of our practice, it's helpful to practice intentional breathing. Bringing forth the energy of mindfulness. And bringing forth this strong determination to be here, to be in touch with this body sitting here and the breath, full body breathing. You might notice sounds in the space. Can you allow sounds to bring you back to this moment in time? Arriving home through sounds and not letting sounds carry us away into thoughts, into feelings. And if they do, notice that. This practice calls us to see things the way they truly are and to be with things exactly the way it is. So, what is it that we need to offer ourselves in this moment? Is it the qualities of patience? Is it forbearance? Is it loving kindness? And so we include everything inside of our practice. Everything that is showing up right here, right now, is an opportunity to practice, an opportunity to return home to the breath, an opportunity to see what is arising in the emotional and mental state, to know it as it really is, just a thought, a feeling, a sensation, and to know that whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, it too shall pass. the breath is our anchor. Can we take interest in the breath? Can we generate a kind of curiosity for this miraculous process of breathing? Breathing is like this. And if you find yourself easily carried away by thoughts or sounds or an emotional state, perhaps you might want to breathe a little bit harder so you can feel the breath and possibly even hear the breath. Or we can be mindful of another person's breathing nearby. These are just some of the ways to unify the mind, to take a break from the endless mental busyness. Allowing awareness to rest to rest in the space between thoughts, to rest in the openness of mind. And when it's not there, notice where the mind is. Notice the grip, the clinging, the attachments to the stories, the memories, the future and the past. And in that moment of noticing, there is a choice that we can make. The choice is to set it down and to choose this moment. This moment is the moment where we rest in open awareness. I'd like to close our sitting practice with the three refuges. This is a version that many of you have heard me chant in the past from Plum Village. I will begin with 3 sounds of the bell, followed by the chant. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. Namo Dhammaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Namo Sanghaya. Dwelling in the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dhamma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transformation. Dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining light that supports me, keeping my practice free from obstruction. Taking refuge in the Buddha in myself, I aspire to help all people recognize their own awakened nature, realizing the mind of love. Taking refuge in the Dhamma in myself, I aspire to help all people fully master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation. Taking refuge in the Sangha in myself, I aspire to help all people build fourfold communities, to embrace all beings and support their transformation. I think about this few lines that is in this chant, such as taking refuge in the Sangha, and how the Sangha is a shining light to support us in removing the obstructions that's on our path. And I think how often it is that when we experience any obstruction, we don't turn to a community, or we don't think about coming back to our family or our support group. And this is to me a reminder in those moments when we remember to take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We remember how to skillfully navigate the next steps. And it's very easy when we are operating by our default mode, the autopilot mode that is almost always there, that these things fall into the back of our mind and we forget. We fall into darkness. So today I will be giving a talk on investigation, and investigation leading to insights. And so just a little pitch before I hand it over to Jim is, if you've been experiencing a dry period in your practice, or it feels like when you're sitting, you're drifting, or there's kind of like this, I'm here, but I'm not really feeling like my hair is on fire to practice. There may be a certain quality that we can use. This is the quality of investigation, of self-inquiry, that can help revitalize this sense of newness and this zest to practice, that curiosity and wonder that oftentimes leads us to go further in the path, or whatever path we have. So I'd like to just turn it over to Jim for some Qigong, and then or maybe should we do announcements first, Jim? What do you think? Maybe someone. Candle, would you like to share some announcements? Yes. How are you?
Are the Zoom people on there somewhere?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. We made it. That was a fantastic technical reconfiguration that we all did together. We just sat quietly and you figured it out. Good
JJ
job.
figured it out. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Candle Summers, if you're new. And you usually know that I give long-winded announcements, but I don't think I will do it today. I'll just keep the welcome notice short, because I like to welcome everyone of great diversity. So instead of listing it all like sexual preference and gender and religious background, I'll just say welcome to everyone of all diversities. And I also usually like to do a long Indigenous peoples acknowledgement of our lands. And I won't go through everything that I like to, but I will say, let's just take a moment in our hearts to be appreciative and to understand that the lands that we're on here in Portland are the lands of the Silets, the Cowlets. There are at least, there's a list. It's in the pass-through. And if you'd like to really take a moment just to acknowledge that because of great adversity, we have had the privilege to be here where we are. And it's useful to keep that in mind. That's my short version. The only other thing I want to say is that we are having our rebooting. We do it every 4 months of women's restoration and rejuvenation. It's for anyone who self-identifies as a woman, non-binary, gender fluid, and we meet on Zoom. It's the third Friday for 4 months, so it's 3 sessions a year. And we have people from the Salish lands up in the Northwest. We have people from the Miwoks in California. So if anyone is from any of those areas or know friends who want to get together for connection, we each share about 5 minutes. It's limited to 20 people, and we do a half-an-hour meditation and sharing of the Dhamma of who's been influencing you lately. Maybe it's women Buddhist teachers, but it doesn't have to be. So that's starting up in May 19th. So there'll be one of these flyers up there in the front and in the pass-through, and it has a QR code. So you can check it out or go online to the website. There's also, this is Sunday night, so I teach the first and third Sundays also on Zoom. And there's also Be Queer Now, which meets every Sunday evening. So check out the website. Just go up to the top left-hand corner for events and classes. And then the other thing is that over on the right-hand side of the website is the Connect. And there you can find a way to get the announcement that comes once a week on Mondays of all the future things happening, during the next, there's maybe 3 or 4 things at a time. And if you're more talkative than that and you want to have a two-way street, there's an email list. And on that listserv, people have conversations about different things. Jim announces what he's going to do on his Monday night sits and his Thursday night sits. And also there's Heart of Freedom that's on Thursdays. Doug mentions what he's going to talk about. So, and sometimes people announce things like when they have work to offer and things like that. So it's a community connection. So stay connected in whatever way you can. Thank you.
Candle. Leah, would you like to come up and share about the June event we have? I can see you right here. There we go.
Hi, I'm Leah. Good to see all of you today. On June 3rd, we are having a community event here at the center, and it is to celebrate the birth of the Buddha, as well as to share any form of art or expression of joy that you may have that you would like to share with the community. We have a sign-up sheet for anybody who would like to do a performance, or I'm going to bring a piece of art that I've painted. We'd also really like people who have a passion for either baking or cooking to bring something that's easy to share with the community. What else are we? And any volunteers that would like to help come and help me set up, that would be really great as well. Timing, we're doing it from, is it 6 to 9 on June 3rd. And so if you want any more information or would like to help, please talk to me afterwards. I'll be here. Chat.
Thank you. And here's the sign-up sheet too, so we can leave it
Awesome.
in the back.
So yeah, we'll put the sign-up sheet. And there is a QR code on here as well. If you would rather do that online, that's an option as well.
Thank you, Leah. So if you have a talent or a gift that you like to share, this is an opportunity to, I would consider this like an act of generosity to share a part of ourself to our community. Oftentimes, we think of the show part, the performance part of, our performance part, as it has to look good, it has to be right, it has to be perfect. But when we shift that view of seeing it as, you know what, I'm sharing a part of me, the deepest part of myself, it's a very vulnerable thing to do. And when we do that in community, we experience this sense of connection. And we get to be seen and heard for, the essence within ourselves. So it's my invitation for you to share. Doug is not here. Doug, our volunteer coordinator, is not here, but I had requested that he do a Dharma comic stand-up for us. So we'll see. I thought that would be great. Yeah, I'll tell all his jokes again. And we'll also be doing having a bathing the baby Buddha. So that's a tradition from the Mahayana tradition, where we bathe the baby Buddha on during the Buddha's birthday. So when we undertake this practice, this ritual of bathing the Buddha, for me, it's like bathing, cleansing myself, the child within me, right? Cleaning and caring for the child within myself, the Buddha within ourselves. And I'd like to invite Noel. Would you be able to share with everyone about the Youth Dharma program?
Hi everyone, I'm Noelle, and we are reinstating the Youth Dharma program here at PIMC. Our launch date is July 9th, so we're very excited to welcome children into our Sangha. We're setting up a room in the back, and I believe that used to be the former Youth Dharma program room, which fell away during COVID. We are currently in a planning committee to organize bringing back the program. So we're starting with ages 5 to 12. There's a little bit of flexibility there, so if you have a child who falls outside of that age range, please reach out to me, and we can talk about the possibility of including someone a little bit younger or a little bit older. And the program will be meeting at the same time as the main Sangha out here, so from about 10 to 12. And we're really, really excited about bringing children back into the center. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Noel. We're very fortunate to have such wonderful, talented people in our community like Leah and Noel. Noel is a licensed family and marriage therapist, and also a certified children mindfulness teacher. So very highly qualified for this position. So we're very excited that you're taking this on. Thank you. Thank you. And on to Jim.
So this is, oh, we had the volume up. I'm going to whisper. Okay, it's ringing. I don't like that. How's that? Is it ringing now? All right. So this is not a performance. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's impermanent. It's going to end. And it's not mine. This is Qigong. And there's a reflection that I ran into a long time ago in a book by Thich Nhat Hanh, where he was saying, open your hand and look at your father's hand. Is that my hand, or is that the DNA and molecular organization that I have on a lease for a certain number of years that I inherited from my ancestors? So having what was Thich Nhat Hanh's comment about birthdays? About, anybody know that? Trina might, but she's focused. What did Thich Nhat Hanh say about birthdays? Happy Remembrance Day or happy? Oh, okay. Well, anyway, the idea is to remember that this is not mine. I'm working with it, and I'm responsible for keeping it healthy and strong, but it's not mine. It was passed on to me, and in my case, I had the good fortune to pass it on to some other really interesting people. But let's open our arms in a circular pattern and gather experience from this morning. Technology that helped us, technology that played games with us. I don't understand what's in that red box. Anyway, something magical happens in there, and sometimes not. Let's go the other way. But see, these movements, well, let's pause here. One more time around. Now this movement, lifting, interlocking the fingers, moving up on her toes, which I don't do very well today. Some days I'm better than others. Okay. And then relaxing down, lifting up, interlocking, pressing, and then lifting, coming down with the palms up, coming down with the palms down, and then opening to the side. I just read the other day that that's in a document from 800 AD. So people have been doing this with their bodies for forever, and simple things to relieve the stress in their shoulders, moving quietly, trying to make a round movement out of it so that you're extending a little bit away from the body on the way up, and then you're cruising down on the way down. When the limbs are used in this easy, round movement, it changes the mood of the body. All day long, we're hurrying to get here and hurrying to get there. The Taoists talked about the 10,000 things, the 10,000 things to do, the 10,000 things to get, 10,000 things to forget. Now, all the way up. More oxygen, more chi. We've got soft shoulders to start with, but now we're loosening up all the little connecting tissues between the ribs. So why do we do this as part of our mindfulness practice? Because it helps us become aware of skillful movements that influence beneficial effects for the body. Most of the day, we're hammered with all kinds of demands and restrictions and requests, and so much suffering coming in many different ways in our lives. Let's open to the side and then press out gently and sink, opening. Different areas of the rib cage are stretched, different connective tissue that's been stagnant and stuck for a while releases, and the mood changes with soft, round movements. And very simple, we were working with just symmetrical gestures. Right hand knows what the left hand's doing. But we can also hold our hands in front of us and feel the weight shift. So we become aware of the sensation in the feet as we take this ball of energy back and forth. Awareness doesn't have to be focused on this shoulder or that wrist or that ankle or up on the toes. We can move with the whole body, changing the center of gravity just a few inches over here and a few inches over there. And the Buddha suggested when we meditate and focus on the breath that we breathe with the whole body. And I've discovered that Qigong helps me understand what he was suggesting. How do you breathe with your whole body? Cross over one hand. Let's say the street side hand is on top and the tree side hand is on the bottom. And just savor the energy that you can collect with your whole body. What's generating this sphere of energy? Shoulders, upper arms, elbows, wrists, palm, fingers. We can move with the whole body. We can breathe with the whole body, allowing every cell to be massaged by these simple round movements. Then pausing, turn the palms up. There's no gesture, but there's a river of sensation. By stimulating the circulation in certain soft, round ways, there's an after image. It continues to circulate after we hold still. So come back to the center, open up. Every cell in the body is taking in. Anything we don't need is releasing and being extended over the entire planet. We're all connected by this breathing, the skin around the earth that breathes. We participate in it. With our exhale, we're filling the atmosphere with unused or used pieces that we don't have any use for anymore. But it can be transformed into life by the trees, the shrubs, the plankton. And then we open to the gift of the oxygen and the chi that's been produced by our companions in the vegetable world. And then we pause. And there's still a river of sensation in a standing form. And we can kind of organize this standing form into one center, low in the body, bringing one hand near the belly button, but not touching, and the other hand not touching the first hand. Just little gaps between the body and the hands, and the fingers are open. So every cell in the webbing between your fingers is open to the chi that we're surrounded and interpenetrated by. Everything's open, and it's all organized into a composed, restful stillness. And now we bring our hands together in gratitude for another opportunity to practice. Thank you very much. I'll be here on the 20th of May, that's this month, and it's set up as a Qigong workshop from 9 till 1, and we'll probably be in the living room because there's something else going on in here, but maybe I'll see you on the 20th of May. Thank you.
While everybody's getting settled, I wanted to mention one more thing. Before COVID, we used to use this room over here for interviews, teacher check-ins. And so for those of you who might not feel so social, enjoying the living room, if you'd like to stay in here for a small group check-in, I'm happy to talk with you about your practice. So I'll just meet around over here if anybody has conversation and interest in sharing your practice.
Thank you, Kando. Yes. Okay, how's my sound? Is that good? Okay, great. And to add to what Kando is saying with teachers supporting us is Jim, and then we also have Mish here, who is the next generation teacher, so I want to acknowledge your presence here too, Mish. And online we have Elwin and Paul and Nick and Paula and Vic are out today. But yes, feel free to reach out to any one of the teachers, and we're here to support you and be your guide and your friend, your spiritual friend. Back in Vietnam and in many Asian countries still, in the Mahayana tradition, the monastics, the Dharma teachers are like counsels and therapists, and they're the person that the whole family turns to, the village turned to whenever they had questions or concerns, or what do I do about this in my life, or my marriage is like this, or my kids are like that. And in our Western society, that's really shifted because we go see our therapists. And back then, the monastic, the spiritual teachers were the everything for the village, for the community. And so I first just want to get a pulse from everyone. How are you feeling about your mindfulness practice or your inner life? Maybe just shout out, a couple words to describe that. How are you feeling? Lazy. Got it. Mhm. Challenged. Safe. And those of you on Zoom, you can put it in the chat. Just a few words to describe. Hopeful. Grateful. a refuge, a refuge. Going home. Hmm. A lot of times when I give these Dhamma talks, I'm often curious where the state of my listeners are, and it makes me think of the Buddha and his skillful and wise way of knowing what medicine to give his students, and so I'm taking this in to really help shape the topic of our of today's talk. As I've been in this Theravada tradition for over 10 years, when I first began going to sitting groups like this in Chicago, inside Chicago, oftentimes I would hear meditators share, or express their frustration, like, I've been sitting for 4 years or 8 years or 10 years and I'm not really seeing anything. I haven't had that breakthrough or that aha moment. Or what is it that I'm missing? I hear people, having these profound insight in their life change, or, they are happier or more at peace, but what am I missing? Right? And someone recently asked this, just, along the line of, I don't feel inspired or motivated to awaken. And it had me really think about this, like, yeah, what is it that has someone experience this kind of fire about their practice, or what is it that has an individual want to wake up really early and sleep an hour less just to meditate, right? So, I mean, I know for many years I often wonder, like, about myself and doubt it. Okay, I say I really want this. I say I really would like to get further in my practice, but I'd rather choose to sleep, or I'd rather choose to go to bed early when I'm tired. And so those are, just some of the things that I know is oftentimes the challenges that we experience. And so this topic today about investigation, I feel that it's a quality, it's a factor that is a really relevant and key factor in us being able to cause insight and condition ourselves for insight to arise. This investigation is found in all of the Buddhist lists, all of the many lists. It's only found in one place, and that's in the factors of awakening, as investigation of dhammas. And next to that, the two closest qualities that the Buddha talks about is the quality of panya, wisdom, and that is in the 10 paramis, and then the right understanding, which is wisdom, which is also that's found in the Noble Eightfold Path. So investigation of the Dhammas is that of identical to having the right understanding, right view, and that of wisdom, panya or prajna. And what does it mean to investigate? Investigation is to analyze, to scrutinize, to examine that which is coming into the field of awareness. So oftentimes when we are in our practice, whether in Sangha or at home, there is that moment where we become aware of the breath, aware of the body sitting here. And we see the thoughts, we observe them. But there's that next stage that oftentimes teachers don't bring up, but it may be embedded into their guidance, is to now investigate, to examine this in the context of the Dhammas, right? In the context of what's most important to us, what matters to us, and in the context of the universal truth, the truth about existence. You know, how is impermanence showing up here? Or how am I denying impermanence? Or where is there a strong sense of self that is, you know, conflicting with this conceptual knowledge that we have around anatta, around non-self? Or the other one is, where is it that I'm thinking by doing this, or by holding on to this view, or this thought, this emotion, that it will actually lead to happiness, when in fact it's causing me to suffer. It's causing me to be restless or agitated, or feeling dis-ease. I have a lot of notes here, but I'm jumping around because I want to just capture the major points of why it is important that we cultivate and develop and use this quality of investigation, not just in our practice, but in our daily life, to examine. There is a wonderful way that Santi Caro, a teacher that I studied with in Chicago, he's a translator for Ajahn Buddhadasa. He described investigation as the way in which a jeweler works with precision. So they would hold up a jewel to their eyeglass and they look at it carefully, and they will examine the color, the texture, the clarity, the shape of the jewel, and they examine for flaws in all of its various kinds of flaws. And they don't just hold it up, okay? They turn it and see it from all different angles. So this is the way in which we can investigate and examine the five aggregates, our thoughts, our feelings, our sensation, our volition, our perceptions, and our consciousness. And it's an active process. There's a participation, it's dynamic, and it calls us to continuously engage. So mindfulness brings it to the forefront, and then investigation is what allows us to deepen in that understanding of what is it that we're now aware of, and how does this apply to my suffering or my happiness? How does it apply to the results of my relationships? Mindfulness alone will not bring forth awakening. So mindfulness is the beginning, the grounds for awakening. And what takes us to seeing the true nature of things is to next step into that examination process, right? And we review our mental states, and we look at what hindrances are currently occupying the mind, and how is it impacting us, right? So it's one thing, like last night when I was going back and looking at, the preparation for this talk, I noticed how drowsy I was, how sleepy I was. And there's something funny about it, because sometimes, actually a lot of times when I start to pick up a book and read, all of a sudden I'm yawning and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of tired right now. So for me, it's that, oh, this is not by chance. there's something here that as soon as I do this, if it's something like where I feel like I have to read, then that's, quality of torpor, of sleepy dullness kicks in. And so like last night, I saw this come in and I said, what is going on here? Right? So to first be aware of the hindrance, the mental hindrance, and then to go into that inquiry and ask ourselves, what is this? And to ask an open-ended question, right? So sometimes in our Western society, we think of investigation as this intellectual process, right? And so with this kind of investigation in the Buddhist context, we are asking these open-ended questions and not really trying to draw a conclusion quickly about what it is that we want to understand or make sense of, but to ask the question and to stay curious. And just like the jeweler who is examining this stone, is to look at it from all different angles and to see our perceptions and our mental and emotional experience of this matter from all different angles. And I don't know if many of you recall the diagram that Robert often puts up, but on the side of all these lists, when we go into mindfulness of these qualities, after that there is the ADA, which is anicca, dukkha, and anatta, right? So what is that space in between reaching anicca, dukkha, and anatta and the mindfulness? It's this process of examination. And I want to share with you just a story about one of my dear friend and participants of my morning meditation group who came on and sat with us a couple of days ago, and she hadn't been on for a while. And I walked us through a loving kindness practice, and we started with sending loving kindness first to the sensations in the body, right? And then sending loving kindness to the our thoughts and our emotions. And at the very end, when we had our sharing time, she discovered that she was feeling a lot of anger. There was some residue of anger for a family member that she was having problems with. And in this awareness of the anger and how it was felt in the body and where it was, she recognized the impact that that emotion had on her. And to first be aware of this sensation or this emotion, and then to see the impact of it requires that looking deeply, that examination of those aggregates. And it became very clear to her. It was like a light bulb went off, where she said, wow, I think I can let go of that anger now. Right? She didn't really say that, but she recognized that I don't need to hold on to this anger anymore. And what I think is really incredible is a lot of times when let's say, we'll use anger as an example. Let's say we have anger towards someone, we're upset. It's hard for someone to say to us, just let go, right? Just let go, stop blaming that person. Because it's true, maybe they did do something really bad, we feel very violated or hurt, or they may have harmed us in some way. How can we let go? And it's just, no, I have the right to feel angry about this, or I have the right to feel this way or that way about it. Now, what happens in our mindfulness practice is when we get in touch with the the visceral sensation of this anger is then we go into this inquiry. How is it feeling inside? What is it doing to me? We get in touch with the quality and how it's impacting our experience of life. And that is where the shift happens, is when we get the impact of these experiences internally. And then to let go becomes a little bit easier and clearer to see, okay, if I hold on to this anger, this poison, I'm not free, I'm not happy. And why do we practice, right? We practice because we want to experience more happiness, more peace, more joy. And when we connect to these experiences, that these things are, obstructing our path to happiness, it becomes clearer and easier for us to let go, because we're letting go for ourselves. And then in turn, the mind is not in the way, justifying and validating, no, I gotta hold on to this. But it becomes a matter of the heart to let go. And so the contrast with this kind of investigation, this Dhamma Vikaya, investigation of the Dhamma, is that we are more in touch with our heart. We're more in touch with the lived experience of our aggregates, thoughts, feelings, perceptions, mental formations. And we're in touch with the hindrances within us, feeling it internally. Back when I was sitting in Chicago, in the sitting groups in Chicago, I often hear teachers, or sometimes we'd listen to recording of different teachers, and I always wonder, why are they so focused on this resentment stuff, the stuff about suffering, right? About aversion. It's like, gosh, these people are just such downers. Like, I go into what is it, science of mind, and it's like positive, a positive affirmation, and then I come to insight, and it's like, gosh, we're always talking about these negative mind state, and there was a lot of times when I first began, I was like, I don't really relate to this. It's not that heavy for me. And I was like, the experience of suffering is not that intense over here. And so I couldn't relate to what the other practitioners and teachers were talking about so much. I mean, I was in my 20s. But I came and sat anyways, right? Because it felt good. I felt like I was getting somewhere. I was getting something out of it. And then I went on to retreats and sat longer, because when we sit in maybe once a week or so for 30 minutes, we're just kind of like, just touching the surface of things. But when I went on to the retreat, I got my first hit of these things that they were talking about, the yucky stuff. It's just like, ooh. And I felt it, right? And it took this quieting down of the mind and the body, and pausing the doing, pausing the identification to all that I have accomplished, all that's going well, all that's, that is next up, right, on my agenda. And to look at myself and look at all the ways in which I masquerade behind the accolades and the accomplishment, the identity of being a young business owner, And for some of us, it could be, masquerading behind the busyness of taking care of others, right? Or putting others' needs first to avoid being with our own internal experience. Or it could be focusing on, problems that are way out there in the world, online, in the newspaper, right? Something that's not right here with us. And so I remember, when I would sit and or would ponder, like, okay, well, I had a lot of good things going in my life, and I feel pretty good about my success, what I'm up to, what I've done. But I was blinded that this chase, this constant, um, what is it, zest for another business idea or another venture, another project was really dissatisfying. It was endless. It was like never enough. As soon as you hit one goal, I mean, and maybe in sales, people who are in sales can relate to this. Like you hit one goal, and then there's the next one you have to hit, and then it's more, better, different, and one up it again. And so in uh, in Buddhism, in what the Buddha calls this is tanha. Tanha is this craving, this desire, this thirst that's never really fulfilled. I call it, I call this kind of suffering the not enoughness. So when we can never get enough of what can never be enough, right? So that was my first entry to seeing the subtle suffering that was there below the surface of the doing, of having accomplished things, or the possessions we have in our life. And so in the culture that we live in, this go, 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 mentality, and habituated, ways that we're taught and at our work and in society, we don't have time to go deeper than this go, go, go experience. And the busyness of our lives keep us on the surface, right? It prevents us from feeling things deeply and pausing to take time to examine what's happening here, what's going on internally. And how do we know that things can actually be better than how they are? And by that I mean, how do we know of a greater kind of happiness? If this is the only realm of happiness we live in, that all that is possible is just in what we know, right? When the best of what we had is just this, how do we gain this motivation to practice for this possibility of a greater inner happiness? I mean, things aren't bad. That's okay. I'm fine, right? I mean, I have moments where I really enjoy a trip or being with friends, taking a hike. But how do we know that there is a greater happiness? So perhaps that's where I'd like to pause for a moment, just for you to stay in that inquiry. Is this all there is? There's got to be more to it. Or isn't there? And when you arrive at that question that really resonates with you, Adishanti calls it the most important question, is that that question that you arrive at. When you arrive at a question that really sparks your curiosity, that question that has you really want to practice deeply, like you're just on fire. And you're ready to leave here and pick up another, Buddhist book, or to join a weekly sitting group, hint, hint. um, that's where you start. Is first to navigate that inquiry, find the question that has you want to go on this hunt to awaken, this hunt of purpose, of meaning. You'll know when you arrive and land on that question once you're no longer drifting, and every action that is taken is in the direction of finding the answers to that most important question. And one of the ways in which we can experiment with that question, that self-inquiry, is we try out different things. The Buddha always says, come and see for yourself. And he invites us as students to experiment. And I remember when I think we all experiment quite a bit in life, right? But I remember one of those experiments I did when I was in my young adult life. So growing up, I've always had this like fantasy of becoming a singer. It was like, oh yeah, once I become a singer, it's gonna be so great. That's gonna be my life fulfillment. And I would sing at temples, and everywhere I go, I was like I was like my parents' show child. So get her on stage, let her sing. And so sing a lot of at a lot of Buddhist events, community events, and so one day I was right there on stage. I was emceeing for a Vietnamese concert, and there he was, one of my idol Vietnamese male singers, standing there like just 3 feet away from me. And I was like, oh my God, wow, I can't believe I'm here. And my dream is just like, just right there, one point of separation. If I wanted it, I could make it happen. And right there, as I stood and looked at this, I was starstruck at this celebrity standing next to me. He's about my height, actually. So different when you see him on the screen than when they're next to you. It's like, oh, okay, it's you. And something hit me. I was like, oh, it's not so good. It's not that great. Like, and I remember again standing in another concert, like doing an opening, and I looked down the crowd. There were like 200-300 people in this huge hall, and everyone is loud and drinking and smoking, and and I was like, oh, I don't really want to do this anymore. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of over this, and I had that realization while I was up there, and I was like, these are not the people I want to spend my time with anymore. Drunk and loud, smoking. I mean, I didn't do either of those things at that point. At that point, I had, taken on the 5 precepts. So, I experimented with these ideals that I had. right? And I arrived at this isn't it. This is not it. And then go on and get into a relationship, marriage. Oh, this is not it. And then go on and, live the life in an RV. This is not it. And then go on with a certain job. Okay, this is not it. And then a certain business that I've had for all these years. This is not it. Okay. And so as you experiment and navigate through this most important question that you will have and hold throughout your journey, I invite you to experiment to see, is it or is it not it? And that is where we further our understanding of the Buddha Dharma, is to see it from that lens. Is this creating restlessness in me? Is this creating doubt, agitation? Is there aversion? Is there a constant clinging towards something, for something? Or am I experiencing more ease, more spaciousness, and more freedom? And in that investigation process, is this wholesome or unwholesome? Is this skillful or unskillful? And with those questions, we can guide ourselves. And we can use that as an experiment for this life. I find that really, really exciting to know that if all of this in this life is just an experiment, there's no such thing as failure. There's just trial and error. Okay, this is not it. That's not it. This is not it. That's not it. Okay, maybe that's it. And then we go down that path a little further. So we're coming up on time. I just want to take a moment. Does anyone have any comments, anything you'd like to share? For those on Zoom, you can put it in the chat, and either myself or JJ will read it. There's a microphone. Is this the microphone here? Right behind me. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the thoughts that came to mind when you were talking about, experimenting with this and, okay, no, not this job and not this relationship. The thought that comes to mind is no matter where you go, you are there. And so for me, it was slowing down and really starting to say no to what I didn't want in myself and in others and my community. I had a friend, wise beyond her years, when we were younger, and she was specifically talking about relationships, but it's so applicable to other things. Is you get what you want by saying no to what you don't want, and that was the beginning of the process for me, was identifying no matter what I do, no matter where I go, these things are repeating themselves, and that is not just my environment, but also in me, and really taking on that accountability and ownership of myself, and being true and not being afraid. I think a lot of my stuff was being afraid that if I said no or admit what I really wanted, I would be alone. And actually the exact opposite has been true. I may have less relationships in my life, or I'm doing less things but my schedule is so busy. But it's more of the things that I want and the real quality environment that I want to be in. So that's where my brain went when you're talking about that.
Thank you. Thanks, Leah. Mati?
Yeah, hi, I'm Monty. I use he, him pronouns. And I guess my question is that investigation, I always wonder like how much of that happens during meditation versus outside of that. And I try and keep a journal, but usually I rush through that and don't do very much. And I don't know, I just always wonder, you know, there definitely are lots of thoughts. I mean, that's what I really struggle with is or that's my biggest hindrance, I should say. I do notice that. Anyways, so that's just kind of what I wonder.
Great question. Did you want to comment on that? Yeah. Can you, Monty, do you mind passing this mic to gentleman? Oh, a new one. Okay, okay. Let me answer that, and if you can bring the mic to the gentleman afterwards. It is encouraged that this factor of awakening, investigation of the Dhammas, is something that we apply in our practice. So as we're sitting and we experience the coming and going of sensations or mental and emotional states, we have this direction of seeing it from the Dhammas. You know, is this permanent or impermanent? You know, where is the self attached to this, you know, clinging of thoughts or feeling or perception? So in short, I would say that you'd want to carry this practice with you upon arriving at establishing mindfulness, right? So our mindfulness is now firm and strong and established, and we're focused on the breath. Then we call in this investigation. And when you're off the cushion, you can also do this. This is something that, to me, you know, oftentimes I would say to spend time reflecting, right? So investigation is like a space that you open in the mind to reflect and to see the patterns, to see the habitual ways of being. And again, it at times could get confused with that intellectual kind of, you know, analyzing of things where we're like trying to, you know, make sense of it through the mind or trying to solve it or work it out in the mind. But this kind of investigation, just to reassert here, is that it's more of a open-ended asking and let's see, you know, examining it from all different angles. So it's encouraged, the Buddha encouraged us to always use this factor of awakening, whether we are in practice or throughout our daily life, engaging in activities. Thanks, Mom. Please say your name again.
My name is Scott.
Scott, yeah.
And your talk really resonated with me and something that I've been thinking about.
Oh,
My name is Scott.
there we go.
Okay, it's on. And your talk really resonated with me. And one of the things that I realize I do in my life is overschedule. And through full-time work and a lot of things going on in my personal life. And overscheduling is how I avoid, I think, that deep inquiry. But over the last month or two, I've really been curious about what happens if I slow down and what if I unloaded some things from my schedule? What would that feel like? And, but it always seems very daunting to go down that path because it seems permanent. But what I liked about your inquiry theme is that, this can be temporary. I can try something and, oh, well, how does that feel? And if it's not the right path, then I can go back to overscheduling if I want. Or maybe this is the right path and then I keep going. So I'm really interested to try it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Scott. Anyone else?
I just had a quick question for you. What in this context is meant by the word dhammas?
Dhammas.
When you say investigation of dhammas,
yeah,
what does that mean?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So dhammas, there are two kinds of dhammas. You may have heard it in my previous talk about taking refuge in the three jewels. So the capital D Dhamma is the Buddha's teaching, which are all the lists, the 5 hindrances, the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, right? The factors of awakening, right? The paramis. So all the lists, that's the capital D Dhammas. And then the lowercase d, dhammas is Pali Sanskrit, same word. Lowercase d Dhamma is just the, one way that I heard it's being said is the things that we put significance on in life. The things that we put significance on. And we, from looking at those things that we place significance on, we can see the lowercase Dhamma, which is the true nature of all things. The nature of how important I make this issue or this matter. The nature of my affliction right now. The nature of this experience I'm having, pleasant or unpleasant. So that lowercase Dhamma is all of life. Thank you.
I had another little comment there just about discomfort in the practice and looking at ourselves. Some of the other literature that I read, a line that is, pain is the touchstone of all spiritual progress. And I don't like that line. But when I examine it, there's discomfort and or pain with growth of any kind, whether it's physical, when I go to the gym and I'm sore, or whether it's mental, the pain of having to put forth mental effort to expand my knowledge base. And so, for me, what I love about the experimental aspect of Buddhism is I can try something like was mentioned, maybe I can unload my schedule. And oftentimes I'll do a U-turn. That's a little too uncomfortable, right? And I'll have a reaction, I'll go back to my old way. Then I'll go, oh yeah, this discomfort feels familiar. I'm okay with this, right? But it's when I'm in an unfamiliar discomfort, a place of uncertainty or unknowing, that I can become afraid, essentially. And my experience with having openings or insights or the rest of that is that it's kind of like a little birth canal, and you have to go through the squeeze, get through the squeeze, and then you'll get to the other side, and it's like, oh my gosh, look what's here. So for me, it was just important to say that, to remind myself that when I'm feeling that discomfort, it can actually even be a horrible thing, and I'll just be like, oh my God, this is horrendous. Fantastic. I must be ready for a breakthrough. Okay? So those are the kinds of things that come up for me. Thank you for the topic today.
Thank you, Joshua.
What you were just saying, I'm Carlita, hi. What we were just saying reminds me of my favorite quote from Carlos Castaneda, and I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but it's something like, you either get strong or you stay the same, but either way, the amount of work is the same. like either way. And I'm always trying to impress this upon the people that I'm working with, because we have these intense mechanisms around our negative beliefs and the ways that we, all the resistance to doing the growth work. But really the thing is, we're suffering anyway. It's hard anyway. In some ways, I'm really grateful that I suffered a lot early in life, and emotionally in particular, because it was just really like I was strongly motivated. I was like, this sucks anyhow. You know, we might as well just like fight tooth and nail to be happy, you know, to do really engage in that work. So in some ways, I feel blessed that came in the ways that it did. And I hope that just, that people, you know, I think of like young people that I wish I could share that with. It's just like, it's not that there's any need for comparison with the people who seem to be happy versus where you are. You know, you really have an opportunity where, you know, I have friends who didn't have a hard time with certain things, and now it's really coming at them at age 50, you know, and it's not that one path is better than another, but I'm glad that I get to spend more of my life just having done things already. You know, it's a really, it's good. It's good. It's work either way.
Beautiful. Thank you, Alita.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natalia, and I have a question. I sometimes struggle with this discernment around when is the work inside me? So coming to accept or be at peace with what my experience is and what's arising, and then when is the work out there? So this isn't it. Okay, I'm gonna go and change it. And I just would love to hear any like insight or wisdom around that.
That's a really great question. As soon as you said that, what stirred up in me was the life that I had at one point when I was in a marriage where I was reaching the ends of my wits, where I was like, I really firmly believe I'm doing everything. You know, I was going to retreats and I was doing a lot of inner work, and still, you know, things didn't get better externally. There was still lots of tension and, you know, upset, and it was like, and you know, I think as a Buddhist, what we develop is, I think it's a wonderful character to often see where am I responsible for this, right? So it's a wonderful quality, I think, to always to keep that, to maintain that. How could I be responsible for this, for what is coming in this interaction? And then I shared this a couple of weeks ago in one of our Satipatthana class, and through intense practice and continuing to bring mindfulness into daily life and daily activity and all interaction, all of a sudden it became very easy and apparent that to let go was the best thing to do for myself and for the other, right? And sometimes it means that to end that relationship, but how we end it is, I think, the key, the intention behind how we navigate that. Are we doing it with harmony? You know, let's say there's a job that no longer, you know, serves us. Are we like, I'm so done, you know, I quit, right? Or is it, you know what, let me end this in a way that, you know, I can have the other party feel like, you know, they're being respected, or they're being acknowledged, or I've cared for them, I've taken care of things, so that they're not left, you know, left in the cold. So I think that's one of the ways in which I measure, you know, was that skillful, or was that me running away or avoiding something, right? Is to measure the degree of harmony or ease that we feel in the heart in the process of doing that. Thank you. You're welcome. Do you take the mic, please?
When I can check in with myself, and if if I'm feeling like I'm having to defend the way that I am acting, or the action that I took, that's usually when there's probably something that I'm trying to control, where I'm like, okay, if I'm trying to feel like I'm on the defense, like I did everything right, it's probably when I actually need to check myself, and like, so just a tip.
I'm Amanda. This is my first time here. I'm in another group, a recovery group, AA, and there's so much that's reminding me of that group. And we have a phrase in that group: contempt prior to investigation.
Can you repeat that?
Contempt prior to investigation, which is what I'm hearing. And as soon as I have that contempt, it's like, okay, I need to investigate why. And then as you were talking about taking responsibility, I mean, that is part of the investigation. Like, what is I have to clean up my side of the street, is what we say in recovery. And when I know I've cleaned up my side of the street, I know that I can move forward or change externally. But yeah, it's just so much is resonating with me with my other group.
Yeah. Yeah, the languaging may be different, but the process to transformation, right, and awakening is the same path. Good morning. Hi, Penelope. Could you turn on the light?
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Penelope. Good morning. I want to ask a question about anger. And I don't consider myself someone who catastrophizes at all, but the anger of, I don't know how else to say it, the American practice that's well embedded in mass shootings, constant. And I'm not one to follow the news a lot, but you hear it, you can't get away from it, in Texas and all over the place. And it gets to anger, of course, but it also gets to the heart. So it's a complicated question, in terms of our practice and saying, well, I have to let that go. Okay, you let it go, but it happens again the next day and there's more trauma. So could you address that, please?
Absolutely. So thank you, Penelope. The first part that I go to when I am, witnessing or hearing about these shootings and the harm is in our society, the violence that's in our society, is, first acknowledging how I'm feeling inside around this, right? The tension, the tightness, all the sensation, just feeling the visceral sensation upon hearing this. And because I've kind of followed this process for so long, it's kind of a very quick track for me to get to that part of investigation. I ask myself, how is the Dhamma showing up right here inside of this incident? Right, and when we say the Dhamma, we can look at it. So what does the Buddha say about the untrained mind? The mind that is filled with hate, with aversion, the mind that, has a strong identification to the self, the I, the me, the my, a strong ego, right? And we can look at all of the hindrances and the aggregates, the ways in which a human being cling to that, and then take that to be true, and then from there take action on those thoughts, on those feelings, on those stories that they hold. And what it actually does for me, Penelope, is it has me see that there's a lot of work to do here to help train these minds, to help people, come out of their delusion, to help bring about mindfulness into more parts of the world, the country, where people are not exposed to this practice of, peace, of self-compassion. Because what I see that it's manifested out there is a result of what is, how do I say it? The deprivation that the person experienced within themselves that leads to these unwholesome actions. And little do they even know or come in touch with how it is impacting them, right? I mean, about a week or, is it a week or two ago, we watched the Dharma Brothers. We watched the Dharma Brothers here on Saturday, and, to see these men who are mass murderers, serial killers, undertake this 10-day Vipassana retreat, the practice that we do here, and practicing this 10, 12 hours a day, and the anger, the upset, the hate, the bitterness that was in them was revealed to them. It was, some of them said it was worse than being in prison, to have to confront those dark, parts within oneself, the part that one may be so ashamed of, that one is avoiding, hiding from, right? Buried so deep. And then to come face to face with it and realize, if I don't look at this now, when else would I look at this? And in those moments, they finally, the aha moment, was when they examined their life and their doing, and they saw the impact of their actions. They took responsibility for, wow, I hurt a lot of people, and I completely destroyed my family, and I completely destroyed the victim's family. And it only comes when we are in that meditative place, mindfulness followed by investigation. And so when we experience this feeling of anger for what's going on out there in the world, we can investigate into the Dhammas. How is the Dhamma presenting itself here? That people are this way, or the nature of an untrained mind is like this. Okay? I hope that's helpful. Welcome. I now acknowledge we're just having such a great time. I didn't want to cut us off, but it's 12:25, and thank you for staying and for being in community. Let us just close with an Om. Yeah. Thank you, dear friends. Thank you for showing up and for coming home. Wish you all a many blessings, and may you continue to dwell in the Dhammas. Thank you, friends. And please join us for tea and coffee and snacks in the living room out back. Thank you, Mel and Hao.